let me tell you about an epiphany that happened to me and my family. We have been buying stuff and storing stuff and keeping it around and all, food storage like you're supposed to. And then 2 years ago, I taught a class in my stake for all of our stake leadership on the probability of a pandemic. H5N1, the bird flu, was going around. The United States government and many other governments around the world were very concerned about the possibility of this going rampant. So I thought it prudent to teach my stake what we should do in the possibility of a pandemic and how we are going to deal with it. In fact, I had a lady, the Relief Society president, walk by me in church a couple Sundays ago, pat me on the shoulder and says, "You're a prophet." I said, "No, I just read. And I see what's going on. That's my job." Literally. Emergency preparedness is my avocation, my vocation, and my calling. Drives my wife completely around the bend. Talk about something else. Okay. How about guns? Yeah. How about the Constitution? That's, by the way, the next series of lessons. I'm teaching a class on Constitution 101. So anyway, teaching the pandemic flu, learning everything I could do it. I did a master's thesis on pandemic flu. I know, not everything there is to know, but I know a lot about pandemics and how they work, the mechanics of them and everything, more than any one person should. I read it, so you don't have to. So in that, I was reading, I said, well, what happens, what's my plan if an emergency happens? My plan is, my family and I close the doors and we don't go out for 8 weeks. Could I do that in my house? Darn tootin'. I could shut off my water, I could shut off my gas, I could be in my house for probably closer to 3 months without having to require to go outside of my house, my apartment, and get anything. I could do that. Water shuts off, go, I got plenty of water. No food, don't have to go to the store. I got my food. Water, got that. Lighting, got that. Turn off the power, I don't care, I can live in my house. I can live in my house for months without any outside help. But then it occurred to me on one of the sites I was watching, reading, the gentleman who runs it is a Christian man, and he says, we have an obligation as Christians to take care of our neighbors. By the way, I'm no expert on any of this. I stand on the shoulders of giants. I get to pick here, a little there, and learn and do and apply. How am I going to take care of my neighbors? How am I going to take care of people if I don't go outside my house? Somebody comes to my door, I'm hungry, what can you do? Well, hold your hands out. Here's, 2 cups of rice, and here's some wheat, and here's some dehydrated carrots. Knock yourself out. So I said, that's not going to work. I told my wife, I said, all right, I have an idea. I want to get like Ziploc bags and put like a cup of rice in, about a half a cup of dehydrated peas, some like maybe chicken TVP, and maybe a chicken bouillon cube in there, right? Put it in a pot, add a few cups of water, boom, meal, right? Rice and anything is a meal, to me anyway. I don't know, 4 billion Chinamen can't be wrong. So, rice and anything is a meal. My wife goes, ooh, yuck. We can do better than that. So it started me searching. I found a lady. I wish I could give her the credit for it, but her website no longer exists. And she called it 365 meals. 365 meals. 365 meals. She wanted to have a nice, hearty meal for her family for 365 days. And I went, ooh, pretty cool. She put them all in glass jars. I live in California. I'm not putting Jack in a glass jar because I don't want to have to pick out the glass to eat it after the earthquake, break. I said, we can do one better. So what we did was, we found these meals, gifts in a jar. Have you not seen these in some Relief Society thing? Right? You make soup in a jar and you put a nice little head on it and you give it away. Well, guess what? That's a meal. And so my wife and I, we have a sealer. We have a vacuum sealer. These are not vacuum sealed. Some of them are, some of them aren't, because we're testing to see which one lasts better and tastes better. So my wife had one of these books, and we went online and bought the rest of them, gifts in a jar. Looked through and found the recipes that we wanted, because we had a bunch of, freeze-dried celery and dehydrated this and carrots and all that kind of stuff. We have a family of 6, so we made appropriate for 6 people. And we were going to make 365 of these. One for every day. One big hearty meal every day. We would have something for breakfast, and our families, I don't know, we could have pancakes or biscuits and gravy, or I mean, we got lots of stuff. And then dinner is, cornbread and, other things. But the big hearty meal was one meal a day. So we made 100 of these. The other purpose of this was, what if my wife or I were incapacitated for some reason? Deathly ill. My wife is more of the cook than I am. I enjoy Dutch oven cooking. But what if we couldn't cook? How are our children going to know what to do with freeze-dried carrots? How are they going to know what to do with beans or rice or, how are they going to do anything? So we found these meals. We made these pouches. This is actually one half of a standard pouch that you get from the church distribution center. We came up with, I think it was 17 different meals. And then we vacuum sealed them, some of them, and they sealed them in these things. These are as rice or whatever else is on. In fact, this one is ham hock stew. It says, add 12 cups, cook 5 to 6 hours. It's actually, we've altered that since we wrote this on here, but this is ham hock stew. And we were going to make 365 of these, and some smaller ones to give away. And then in the process, we said, well, let's break one out and make one. So we broke one out and made one. This could feed Sherman's army. Add more water to it, I could feed my ward. I'm not kidding. We made this, this one happens to be lentil soup. This one is ham hock soup. And on the ingredients it says, add 12 cups of water, boil. It says 5 to 6 hours, although we've amended that since then. So we made one of these. I'm not kidding you. We ate, my family, we stuffed ourselves. It was really, really good.
So how long does that last?
Good question. I'll get to that in just a second. So we made this. It fed my family of 6, a whole hearty meal. We stuffed ourselves silly, and we barely put a dent in it. I mean, we actually had more than half of the soup mix left. This actually fed our family. We watered it down after that. It actually fed my family 3 meals. I could take this in an emergency and thin it out, and I could feed 20 people a decent meal. So this was a little overkill. So we decided maybe we didn't need 365 of these, so we made another batch of about 80. And we made some smaller ones too, but we also made ones like this. This is, what is this? Cream of mushroom soup. Make this cream of mushroom soup. We have about 4 or 5 meals that we make with cream of mushroom soup, which we call it Aunt Judy's chicken and rice. This and some dehydrated chicken pieces and rice makes a really great casserole. So the question was, how long do these last? Well, the cans of dehydrated corn and dehydrated carrots and everything else are said to last 25 years. Since we opened the can, put it in here, put an oxygen absorber in, I'm figuring we knocked 5 years off. I'm guessing. I'm figuring 20 years. I have you know, by the way, we did 2 kinds. We did 2 kinds 3 ways, or 3 kinds 2 ways. This is done with a standard sealer, not vacuum sealed. Just a standard church sealer that we sealed them with. Has an oxygen absorber inside. What we did was we made the pouches. The pouches originally they're twice this size. We made these pouches, slimmed them down, we stood them up, and then we assembly lined them. My children and my wife and I, we had this recipe calls for, we did one recipe at a time. This recipe calls, we had 17 different flavors, by the way. This recipe called for these ingredients. So everybody, okay, it's a quarter cup of this, and so I was in charge of a quarter cup of salt and a half a teaspoon of whatever, and put it in assembly line, really close them all up. These ones were put with an oxygen absorber and not vacuum sealed. We have some of them that are in these Mylar and vacuum sealed. I have a vacuum sealer. And then we get a bunch that are in the Seal-A-Meal bags and vacuum sealed. Because I wanted to see which ones would last longer and which ones would last when and that kind of stuff. And I'll have you know, by the way, that the vacuum sealed ones full of powdered milk are not cat proof.